Welcome back to the Gridiron Expert. Our game of the week takes us to Happy Valley as number 2 Ohio State takes on number 13 Penn State in a game that is huge for the Big Ten. Right now, Ohio State and Michigan are the only two undefeated teams in the Big Ten Conference. But if Penn State were to pull off this upset on Saturday, it would create absolute chaos within the conference and especially within the Big Ten East. And guys, it's not that entirely far-fetched. This is Ohio State's first true test. It's Ohio State's second road game this year. The Buckeyes, yes, have won 5 straight games over Penn State since the Nittany Lions' massive upset back in 2016, but all of those games, guys, have been decided by 13 points or less. Could the Nittany Lions shock the nation and create chaos? That is what we are here to answer today. So again, guys, welcome back to the Gridiron Expert. Please continue to like, comment, subscribe, share our videos, and of course, check out everything down in the description below, including our expert picks over on our website, thegridironexpert.com. Some of the best college football and NFL spread picks in the entire country for one of the lowest prices in the entire country, beating out over 80% of the national analysts and handicappers. So guys, if you want the pick for this game, for the other ranked versus ranked matchups, if you want guaranteed winners, just like we had last week when we hit 90% of our bets, you need to sign up for that today and become a part of our GE Nation. The link for that, again, down in the description below. So let's take a look at this game, guys. Even in the years where Penn State hasn't been all that great, they have been able to put up a decent fight against Ohio State. They've held their own against the Buckeyes, unlike many other teams within the Big Ten, especially that within the Big Ten East. Could the Nittany Lions pull off an upset or at least keep it very close and give Ohio State their toughest test and toughest fight of the year? Take a look at Ohio State's offense. It is arguably the best in the country, guys. It's probably them and Tennessee that have the two best offenses in the nation. The Buckeyes averaging 49.6 points per game, over 515 yards per game, and it all starts with C.J. Stroud, their phenomenal quarterback who's thrown for over 2,000 yards and 28 touchdowns this year to just 4 interceptions. But if you do a deeper dive into Ohio State's offense, you realize that the numbers they've been putting up, they've been doing with a relatively injured offense. So much talent around them, they haven't even been at full strength for the majority of the season. They've got a running back in Travion Henderson, who's been hurt these last few weeks. Finally came back last week against Iowa. But he was there. The guy who picked up the slack, Mayan Williams, was doing phenomenal as the team's leading rusher right now. They've got Emeka Egbuka in at wide receiver. He was the guy that had to step in for Jackson Smith-Njigba. Emeka's doing phenomenal things at wide receiver. The team's leading receiver right now and replacement for Jackson Smith-Njigba, who is back and healthy. Didn't do much against Iowa last week, but should be good to go for this game against Penn State. They also have a guy in Marvin Harrison Jr. These guys putting up ridiculous numbers. So whether it's the quarterback, the running backs, the wide receivers, the offensive line, Ohio State is stacked from top to bottom. And the scary thing is, we really haven't seen them at entirely full strength so far this season. Crazy to think about. When you take a look at Penn State, guys, they are nowhere near as electric or high-powered as Ohio State, but what they are is balanced. Penn State's averaging 33.4 points per game and over 400 yards per game. And you look at the numbers a little bit deeper, 245 yards through the air on average, 178 yards on the ground on average. And for them, it all starts with Sean Clifford, a guy who feels like he's been in college for 10 years. He's a veteran quarterback for the Nittany Lions that's already thrown for 1,400-plus yards, 13 touchdowns, just 3 interceptions. Last year battled a lot of injuries, was never fully healthy after that Iowa game. He's been healthy this year, and he's delivering. Like we said a couple weeks ago, it's amazing what you can do when you have a healthy Sean Clifford. He had 295 yards and 4 touchdowns last week against Minnesota, if you were doubting his capability. When you look at Penn State a little bit deeper, you look at the running backs too. That has really been the reason for their balance and for a lot of reason for their success. Nick Singleton and Katron Allen, a dangerous running back duo, one of the best duos in the country when it comes to the backfield. And that's going to be something that they have to keep going against Ohio State. If Penn State wants to have a chance to win this game, they've got to remain balanced. They can't become one-dimensional. And they need big days from their running back so that Sean Clifford doesn't have to do it all by himself. The problem is that might not happen. That might not happen against a stingy Ohio State defense. And Ohio State defense is allowing just 90.9 rushing yards per game and just 149 passing yards per game. That's pretty dang impressive. I don't care who you are, I don't care who you played. Only allowing 90.9 rushing yards per game, allowing just a little over 200 total yards per game on average is pretty dang good. The kicker, though, the alternative to that is you have to realize that Penn State might be the best offense that Ohio State has seen. It's either Penn State or Toledo. Now, I would venture to say that Penn State is a tad bit better than Toledo, even though the Rockets did put up 21 points on the Buckeyes. Regardless, guys, what we have to address here is the fact that Jim Knowles is doing a phenomenal job. Jim Knowles, coming in as defensive coordinator from Oklahoma State, has quickly transformed this Ohio State defense, one that was struggling last year, to now one of the better units statistically in the country. The Buckeyes have 19 sacks so far on the year. They have 12 takeaways on the year. They've looked extremely disciplined. They've looked extremely aggressive. And after a relatively slow start to the season, they've picked it up in conference play. And if they can force Penn State to be one-dimensional, if they can fully take away the duo of Nick Singleton and Katron Allen and say, hey, Sean Clifford, beat us by yourself. Go ahead. We challenge you to throw against our secondary. It could be a long day for Penn State in Happy Valley. Penn State's defense. Obviously, they have a pretty good defensive coordinator of their own. Manny Diaz, obviously the former Miami head coach, is their defensive coordinator, and they're allowing just 18.9 points per game and just 373 through the air. So there are 373 total, not through the air, total 373 yards. It's pretty dang good. It's pretty dang good for Manny Diaz and his squad in his first year as defensive coordinator there. The key, though, for Penn State in this game is they've got to stop the pass. They've got to stop C.J. Stroud, and they've got to limit his big play ability. The Nittany Lions are giving up over 230 passing yards per game. They have forced 7 interceptions, but they have to find a way to stop the pass and force Ohio State to win this game on the ground. So kind of the opposite here. Ohio State saying, hey, Sean Clifford beat us through the air. Penn State needs to say, hey, Ohio State beat us on the ground. Now, yes, Penn State did give up over 400 rushing yards a few weeks ago to Michigan, that game being in Ann Arbor. Last week against Minnesota, a very good running team as well, they only allowed 165. So in the span of 1 week, they really fixed that rushing defense. They need that same type of performance this Saturday if they want to have a chance to take down Ohio State. They need to have a rushing defense that can shut down Ohio State's offense, shut down the running game, but also find a way to pressure C.J. Stroud just enough. There's so much talent on the Ohio State offense, it's going to be very difficult to make them one-dimensional. But if I am Penn State, I am wanting Ohio State to beat me more on the ground than I am through the air. Ultimately, guys, what's going to happen? It's Happy Valley. It's Penn State, Ohio State. We have seen a lot of classic matchups. After Penn State's big upset in 2016, the next 2 meetings were won by Ohio State. They were won by combined 2 points. Right? It's been very, very close. And like I said, even when Penn State's had down years, even when people weren't giving them a chance, they were 18, 20-point underdogs, Penn State showed up, showed out, and kept it relatively close. Again, the last 5 meetings have all been lost by the Nittany Lions, but have not been lost by more than 13 points. All have been by under 2 touchdowns. And I think you're going to be in for a similar matchup here. I think this Penn State team is not that bad. People watched that game against Michigan and said, oh, they're horrible, they can't hang with the big boys, they're nothing. And you look at Ohio State and how good they are, they go, oh, Ohio State's going to come in there and blow them out. And I'm going to say not so fast. Penn State typically gets up for this Ohio State game. But ultimately, guys, I do think Ohio State wins their 6th straight over the Nittany Lions. I think the game is closer than people think. I genuinely do. But you can't go against an Ohio State team that has that much talent offensively, and you can't go against an Ohio State team that has improved that much on the defensive side of the ball. I believe that Ohio State will force Sean Clifford to win this game solely through the air, and that's going to result in a lot of pressure on him. That's going to result in a couple turnovers, poor decision-making, poor play calling. We've seen that before from James Franklin. Ultimately, Ohio State guys will take away the one thing that Penn State needs to do, and that is rushing the ball. And at home, Penn State will fall, will eliminate themselves from Big Ten title discussion. Will take their 2nd loss of the year. Ohio State will remain undefeated, something that they very well could be all the way up until the season finale when they take on Michigan. And that game could have Big Ten title implications and, of course, college football playoff implications as well. So, guys, as always, thank you so much for watching us here at the Gridiron Expert on YouTube. Make sure to continue to like, comment, subscribe, share our videos, and, of course, check out everything down in the description below, including our expert picks over on our website, thegridironexpert.com. Some of the best college football and NFL spread picks in the entire country, beating out over 80% of the national analysts each of the last 4 years. You do not want to miss out on those picks, guys. If you want to win, this is the place for you. Sign up today down in the description below. And once again, as always, thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you next time right here on the Gridiron Expert.